Coach June Jones, I hope you're doing well, sir. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, good to hear from you. Always good to talk.
Hey, no doubt. We want to spend a little time here, and we're looking at current college football and previous college football in your years that you've been associated with the game, playing days in the 70s, and then you look at the current day, going through your early coaching days, assistant coach, and then head coaching. What's the biggest change that you've seen in college football?
Well, I think there's kind of been two, actually. I think the most recent thing is the concussion issue. I think that the way the NFL is addressing it right now, I think the way the tackle, the way the game is being played from that standpoint is a huge change from when I played at the Falcons in the 70s. And then the other phase is just the nature of the offensive game. I think that the defenses have pretty much stayed pretty consistent. Once the mid 80s, and I can remember a lot of zone blitzing from Cincinnati in the mid 80s, and so from that standpoint, there's still a lot of zone blitzing, a lot of the same concepts on defense, but offensively, it's a totally different, completely different game. The spreading of the field, the 4, the 5 wideouts, all those different things. Never did you ever see those back in the 70s.
Coach, do you like the direction of the offensive side of the football?
I definitely do. I think I think we're a spectator game. I think the fans like to see scoring, and they like to see individual abilities to make great plays at wide receivers or running backs catching a swing and making 3 guys miss and that kind of stuff. I think that's, like I said, you can't lose the fact that it's a spectator game. And, everybody would love to see a 51-48 game versus a 3-0 game.
Coach, do you ever look at defensive side of the football and not that you feel sorry for those guys, but could you imagine being a second and third level guy, having to read the offensive line, firing off the football 3 yards down the field, and you're trying to read run, but it's a passing play?
Yeah, well, that stretch, those concepts that you're talking about right now, those, in the old days, nobody missed the lineman downfield, when you were throwing a ball because you didn't have the run pat RPO part of the game. And that certainly goes with the 4, 3 and the 4 and the 5 wideouts that I was talking about. A lot of the RPO stuff. We were a passing team always when we spread the field. But what's happened in particular in college, and they've tried it a little bit in the pros, is, college, a lot of the teams are just running the triple option, just doing it a different way. And that RPO game is basically triple option football. In the old days, it was just the wishbone was triple option.
Coach, I want to spend a little time looking at Tua Tagovailoa. We visited last summer, and you gave us, I guess, one of the first clues how great this guy was. But I don't know if we truly understood until that national championship game. Let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Let's go back to the national championship game. You probably were not surprised that he was able to come in and do what he did. 3 touchdowns and that game-winning, national championship-winning touchdown to Devontae Smith.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Of course, everybody in Hawaii was watching that game, probably 85% of the population here,
sure,
because of Tua. And I texted his brother who was at the game, actually. I texted him that I thought that Tua was going to win the game, and he would be coming in the middle of the third quarter, and he'll win the game. And I was wrong. They put him in at halftime, and he won the game. I think that you saw the ability that he does have to make plays, and that play that he threw for a touchdown to win the game at the end, he's run that play 1,000 times. He ran it in high school over and over and over. And as soon as I saw the formation, as soon as I saw him drop back with his eyes going to the right, I knew the ball was going to the split end on the left. and it was a great throw, and it's just, he has the ability to do a lot of things that a lot of quarterbacks can't do. He can run, he can move, he's smart, he's accurate, and he's going to be a great player.
But going back to that play, you've been, obviously, you played the position, you coached the position at the NFL, the college level, you've been a head coach. How difficult is it for a true freshman to go in that moment and to be able to drop those dimes the way that he was able to do it?
Well, you have to have, obviously, that's something inside that the great ones have to be able to do that. I think in the paper here, he's a very, very grounded kid. He's got a spiritual life. He believes in faith, and he has what it takes to go in under pressure and excel. He's done it his whole life. In fact, his state championship game here before he went up there to you guys, he did exactly the same thing. He just took the game and won the game against Kahuku High School, which was number one, I think, in the country at that time. And he's a special guy. And when you have a special guy like that, you got to put the ball in his hands and let him do what he does for the team to win.
When you look at Tua Tagovailoa, when's the first time that you ever saw him, and maybe what clicked that you knew that he was going to be special?
Well, his family was really committed, and so the same thing with Taliah. He's very, very committed to the game, and they played passing league games from, the fifth, sixth, seventh grade. They've been going to camps, doing everything. They're committed to being the best they can be, and I saw him first time throw when he was just starting his junior year at St. Louis, and then of course he just kept getting better and better and better and better. And I think the offense that he ran in high school allowed him to do that because it was repetitively doing the same things over and over and over again. That's why I say, as soon as I saw the formation in that game, he's run. We call that divide, and that's probably what I don't know what they call it at Alabama, but he's run that particular play 1,000 times. And maybe he didn't ever get that coverage, or maybe he didn't ever see that because he wasn't getting the reps during the season. But he knew what to do because he's done it 1,000 times.
But is it common? Because you look at that, what he was able to do for a player that's that young at this big stage to be able to look that safety off. I know you say he run it 1,000 times. Obviously there's a little bit of difference, but he was very familiar with the play. But is that common? Is that just a characteristic that you can't coach? I mean, how did he get to this point where he was able to pull that off?
Well, you get coached to do what I just described, and that's why he did it. And he's thrown so many passes. I mean, and the only way, it's kind of like it's kind of like golfer. Let's say Tiger Woods. When Tiger Woods was early in his career, let's say 98 to 2005, he just knew he knew he was going to make the putts under pressure, and that mental edge is what the great quarterbacks have too. I mean, and Tua's so young, but he's been put in that situation sooner than most freshmen in high school. A lot of freshmen in college. A lot of quarterbacks don't get put in under pressure like that as many times because they're so young. But the older they get that thing. Tua has been doing it for 6-7 years, and he loves to be in that situation.
Can you give us a little insight into Taliah, his younger brother that's going to be recruiting? And recently it came out that Alabama certainly is his favorite, which we all expect, but you want him to go through the process and do the things that he does. Recruiting process, a lot of fun for a kid going into his senior year. Is expected to go to Alabama, but still has not made that decision. What do you see in Taliah? Is it close to Tua's skill set? What do you see? What's the differences?
Well, Taliah is very, very similar. He's not as fast as running the football as Tua is, but Taliah just kept getting better and better and better when I was coaching his sophomore year at Kapolei High School here. And from the beginning of that time to the end of the season, he was not the same guy. And so that same thing's happening. I've gone online and watched his film in Birmingham, and he's continually making the plays that he made, for me as a 15-year-old. And he's going to get recruited by everybody. He's one of those guys that makes plays under pressure, that throws the ball accurately, and is a leader. He's going to be heavily recruited, like you say, and I agree with you that he should go through the whole process. And and he'll do what's best for Taliah. I know that he's taken already some unofficial visits, and his father does a great job of grounding the kids and making sure that they do all the things that the good kids do, and he's just they're a great family.
But his arm strength is all those things characteristics are they comparable?
I think his arm strength and release are comparable. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised by the time Taliah. I had him at 15 years old, and I thought he had pretty much more arm than some of the NFL guys I coached. So he is going to be like Tua in the velocity and the accuracy and those type of things. And he's right-handed, which I think some coaches obviously like that better, easier to coach, and all that kind of stuff. But Taliah is going to be a highly sought-after guy, no question about it.
Coach, when you've got a left-handed guy, how much change do you have to do on the offensive line if you've got a left-handed quarterback? What adjustments do you have to make on the offensive line, if any? I'm just asking probably a generic question, but a lot of us don't know the answer.
It used to be in the old days, they always said that the blind side of a right-handed quarterback was the left tackle. I don't think that's quite as much as it was back in 30, 40 years ago. The offensive linemen have improved so much that the right tackle is as good as your left tackle, and the left tackle is as good as your right tackle. I mean, it's all the same. I think the only thing that happens to me when I was coaching left-handed guys is you just tell them as if they're right-handed, and it's their job to reverse everything you tell, because you can't. I'm a right-handed quarterback, and I'm going to tell him how to throw the ball, drop him back as a right-handed quarterback. He's got to have the ability to reverse it, because I can't demonstrate and can't do it the other way at the level that he has to do it. And that's worked for me when I've had the left-handed guys.
Coach, how stressful can a quarterback competition be? Because, you've got Jalen Hurts here that won a lot of football games, got Alabama to a national championship game, and they got beat by Clemson, got them back this year. And then you've got Tua Tagovailoa that did what he was able to do with winning the national championship, coming in, sparking the team as Coach Saban described. How difficult is it? How stressful can a quarterback competition be for players?
Well, I was really happy that Jalen and Tua got to compete against each other, because the competition makes everybody better. I mean, Tua is going to be better because he knows that Jalen's right there, and if he doesn't do it correctly, Jalen's going to be playing. So you as a coach, obviously that's a great situation. As a player, I think it makes you better too. But I think what's happened in colleges now, that these kids, the first thing they want to do is transfer. And to be quite honest, the answer is work harder, improve your skills, and win the job. I mean, that's what it takes in real life, and that's what it's going to take. You're not going to be able to transfer when you get in a tough situation in life. You gotta fight through it.
What do you see in Jalen Hurts, in your opinion? And I know just watching it from a distance.
I think obviously I've never met him, but I've watched him. Obviously, he's a leader. The kids, they believe in him just like they believe in Tua. It's a different type of quarterback. He's not the passer, obviously, but he finds ways to win the game, and he seems to be really coachable. I think that he'll play in the NFL. when he's done with his career because of his athleticism. I don't think it'll be at quarterback, but he'll find a way to lead in other ways and make it as an athlete.
Hey, Coach, certainly we're going to talk a lot about Nick Saban, but can you give us, from a coaching perspective, you've been in this business a long time as a player, as a coach. You're coaching in the Canadian Football League, and we want to work our way to that here in a couple seconds. But can you give us what you see in being so successful here in Tuscaloosa? Nick Saban's won 5 out of the last 9 championships. I mean, that's even hard to say. 5 national titles out of the last 9 years. From a coaching perspective, what do you see in Coach Saban that makes him so great?
Well, he's very committed to just what you said, to winning. And I've always, I'm smart enough to know that good players make good coaches. And Nick has taken that. Obviously, he's done a great job recruiting. He has great players, but that doesn't mean you're going to win just because you have all the good players. You're eventually going to meet some people that you better be sound in everything you believe in. And he's done a great job with his defensive scheme. In fact, a lot of the defensive scheme stuff that he is using, and it came from Jerry Glanville when we were at the Oilers together, and he was our secondary coach. And Nick was very conscientious. He pays attention to detail, and I think that he's been willing to, which most defensive guys haven't been willing to do, is to adjust with the game from the offensive side of the ball. And, you go back and look how he was playing offense 8 years ago, 7 years ago, to how he's playing offense now. And the game has changed, and he's made that adjustment. And like I said earlier in the conversation, he hasn't had to change as much on defense because he knows what his package is. He understands the concepts that he's playing against, and he attacks with a very sound approach.
Now, Coach, I look at Coach Jerry Glanville. That's going to be your defensive coordinator there in Hamilton in the Canadian Football League. Hamilton Tiger Cats, you're the head coach there in the Canadian Football League. I mean, you got to get a mic in front of that guy. He's a friend of our program. He comes on about once a month, and this guy is awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun just following him and you and you guys' connection. But Coach Jerry Glanville, man, he is so fun on the radio, and he certainly his personality comes out quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, he does. He never changes either. He's still the same way he was when I played for him in 77 through 81 and coached with him and coached he's coached for me, and we've had a long connection. And he's a lot like Nick Saban, a lot of the same concepts. So, in fact, that's Belichick, and I think Jerry and Nick probably only guys really that have just stuck with the concepts on defense, and they get the players to play hard.
Hey, Coach, thank you again for spending some time with us here in Tuscaloosa. We appreciate you helping us understand a little bit about the Polynesian culture. We may get you on to talk about that because this Polynesian connection between Tua and possibly Taliah. Alabama just picked up another Polynesian defensive lineman yesterday, but we're going to have to learn more about the Polynesian culture because it seems like Alabama's going to be open to bringing a lot of those Polynesian players in because of the connection with Tua Tagovailoa.
I'm sure there will be more to come, too. Have a good day.
Thank you, Coach. Have a great day.
Aloha.